This is the scary guy, and I am chatting with Staxx. Staxx, baby.
Welcome to this episode of Chattin with Staxx. I'm your host, Bill Staxx, and today I got this scary guy.
And he says, well, I'm inviting you. And I says, all right, well, you put together a 2-week tour in England. Get me to come into some high schools, and I'll come over there and we'll do the work. Well, I didn't think I'd ever hear from him again. Son of a gun, he booked 2 solid weeks in high schools in England. And I flew over, and he picked me up at the airport, and I was busy nonstop talking to kids in England. And that's how I got indoctrinated into the UK. And of course, the UK, they pick up on something like this, and they don't have the same reservations back then that the US did. I mean, the US people would see me, and teachers and principals would see me and go, I don't know about that, Yeah, there's something wrong with that guy,
Yeah.
What I mean? So there was more judgment. Where England, it was a lot more open and flexible. They didn't care how I looked, really. It didn't matter to them. And I was getting bookings. I was working every week, 5 days a week in schools, full time.
Wow.
Booking after booking after booking. And then a German filmmaker heard about me. He was a documentary filmmaker, and he approached me, and he wanted to shoot a documentary. And it wasn't a little documentary. It was a huge, massive documentary. He shot it in 3 countries, Germany, England, and America. And it took him a year to film, and it was financed by WDR and Arte. Arte is the French television network, and WDR is the German. And it's on YouTube now, but it ran in Europe for 10 years. And it was everybody in Germany and France and all over the European area. They knew who I was. And it never ran in America, and it never ran in England.
Why didn't it play in England or America?
Well, I don't know. I just think, the American media and the American television stations, I think they're just a little bit more, at that time, were a little bit more reserved.
Yeah.
They see me and they go, well, we can't put this in front of our viewers, that's going to turn off a lot of people. Who knows,
But over there, you're exploding, right?
Yeah, well, now, I don't have any problems like that in America. It's kind of sad, really. I miss the old days, and I miss the old days because if I walk down a sidewalk in Kansas City, let's say, 25 years ago, and a mom with a stroller would be coming towards me, and she would see me, she'd switch sides of the street. She'd go, oh, my God, what's this guy going to do, And that was kind of cool. That was kind of cool because the whole feeling about that energy was very judgmental. It was really out there, and people were really afraid of something that was really different. Now I walk down the sidewalks anywhere in the world, and they're coming over to me asking me for a picture and a selfie and an autograph, and it's like there's no more fun in it. There's no more fun because I don't have the same shock value I used to have. Now, there's even Facebook pages on Tattoo Your Face. There's thousands and thousands of people with tattoos on their faces. There's no more shock value in it anymore. So I don't have that piece anymore where I can come in there and go, okay, go ahead and make a decision about me because you're going to be wrong. They already know that I'm doing what I do, and so that energy is completely changed.
Have you ever had the police misjudge you?
Well, you gotta know that, and back in the day when I started traveling and doing my talks and my training, I purposely reached out to the FBI and I would have my background checked by the FBI and certified, so they would send me a document saying that he has no wants or warrants and he's never been in prison, and the FBI would certify that and send me a document. So there was none of that kind of question, and I could just, if anybody had those kind of questions, I could just show them the document, that I was checked out by the FBI. And over here in England, you have to have a certification checkout before you can even enter a school and work in a school. And that's all a police background check on you. I have both of those, and it doesn't matter. Nobody even asks for them anymore, really.
So you never been in trouble with the law?
No, I'm physically, no. Have I ever given a law enforcement officer a bad time? No. I'm smarter than that. You see all these videos on YouTube or wherever where people roll their windows up and don't talk to a police force or police officer, and they don't interact with them in a positive way. And all they're doing is asking for trouble. Just shut your mouth and do what the law enforcement officer asks you to do, and you won't be in trouble. There won't be any trouble unless you're in trouble to begin with. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Unless you're hiding drugs and you're doing drugs and you're running this and you're doing that, then you're going to be in trouble. But it's an attitude, and if you have a bad attitude about police officers, you're going to get in trouble. That's the bottom line. So I've never really been in trouble because I've always had, when it came to a police officer, if I was ever pulled over, it was yes sir, no sir. I mean, that's exactly what I was taught as a kid, because my dad, being a military guy, that's how he treated us. So I learned that much from him.
Yeah, you show respect, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was born in 53, 1953, and then lived through the 50s and 60s, and we had nothing but respect for our elders, period. We go out of our way to help older people. Nowadays, teenagers walk down the sidewalk 3 abreast, and I've seen it happen here in front of me many times. And there's an 80-year-old woman out there with a cane hobbling along on the sidewalk. And then you got 3 teenagers from the school down the street walking 3 abreast at this 80-year-old woman. And here's this 80-year-old woman. She has to step to the side and wait for them to go by. And I'm going, what the heck's wrong with people, man? It's like, can't you just grow up and understand that person's having a hard time walking down the sidewalk? Why don't you give them some space and give them some grace and help them out? But it don't happen. People just don't have that same degree of, connection to human beings. It's just, and there is one guy on social media that I follow, and I liked what he's doing. It's really cool. I don't know if you've seen it, but he walks up, and I don't know what country it's in. I don't think it's America. But he walks up at a register in a grocery store behind an elderly person, and he takes his credit card, and while they're checking out, he scans the credit card around the back of them like this. Did you see that?
Yeah.
And he pays for their groceries and then walks away.
Yeah, I've seen that.
That is so cool. That guy is so cool. And these elderly people look up like, what happened? And then the register person has to tell them what happened, and they're like dumbfounded that anybody would do anything nice. It's like, and that's the way of the world today. It's like, why would we even be surprised that somebody's kind? But we are. We're surprised when somebody holds the door. We're surprised when somebody says please and thank you. And I'm going, wow, things have really changed.
Do you think people's attitudes have changed ever since COVID?
Yeah, I think they have. I think they got worse.
People are angry. It seems like people are angry. It's very distant. There's no human interaction anymore. It's all about the cell phone. It's all about this, right? People not having that communication with other people.
Yeah. Well, people would rather, and that's another thing that puzzles me. You know, I grew up in a day where talk was talk, and your talk, that's what you had, and it was the golden rule, you know, when you gave your word, that was it. You know what I mean? But that's how we communicated, and everybody would talk, and we'd all communicate like that, and that was the way it was. Now, nobody wants to talk. Everybody wants to text. Everybody wants to do text messages. If you call somebody on the phone, they don't answer their phone. You know, it's amazing.
A
You
lot
got
of
a
people
phone in
probably
your
can't
hand.
hold a conversation.
Yeah, nobody does it. They all want to text, and then they'll say, "Oh, I was busy," and then they text you, and then you text them, and then it's the text messages back and forth. It's never a phone conversation. And now we have the capability of doing what we're doing, long distance, is a video. Video communication is like talking face to face. Nobody wants to do that either. And I'm going, wow, this is so disconnected. And I guess it kind of answers my own concern, you know, about people and not having any respect for each other in real life. Maybe maybe that's part of the disconnect. I don't know.
So when you were younger, what was your life from a young man up until your 40s? And do you remember your first face tattoo? Getting it? Your first tattoo and your first face tattoo.
Ah, my life as a kid is really strange. Really, I think. You know, I grew up. I had my brother. I had one brother. He was 18 months younger than me. We got along, but we didn't get along. You know, we were always at odds with each other. I think in competition and all kinds of other stupid stuff. He's gone now, and I wish he was still around. But he had mental health issues. He was really depressed. But he left the house when he was 18 years old, and he went right into the Marine Corps. And then I didn't see him again till when my mom died when I was 39 years old. And he was in the law enforcement down in Tucson, Arizona. That's how I got down there, because I wanted to be with my family, and he was the only one left in my family. So I sold everything up in Minneapolis, Minnesota that I had, and I moved down to Tucson, Arizona, and I had been learning how to tattoo prior to that. So I lived my life down in Tucson with my brother, who was in law enforcement, a police officer. And my first tattoo I got in 1986. I was 30 years old. To me, that's hilarious because
I got my first one in 89.
Did you?
Yeah.
How old were you?
10.
10?
Stick and poke, yeah. Yeah.
No way, dude. That's
Yeah.
incredible. I was 30 when I got my first one, and it was a real life experience for me because I was visiting my brother on a holiday or vacation. And I didn't go down there to go, hey, I'm going to go down and get a tattoo. That's not what I thought. But I was driving my car down the road, and I saw the sign tattoo, and I went, my car just pulled right in the car park, right in the parking lot. And it felt like it kind of sucked me out and right in the door, and I started looking around on the walls at all these different images. And I saw my dad when my dad and all his buddies would hang out in the garage and drink beer and stuff, and they all had big Navy anchors on their biceps, you know. And I'm 5 years old looking up at all these guys with these massive to me, they were massive looking arms. They were probably just like normal arms like me and you, but when you're 5 years old, you know, the damn things look massive. And then they had a great big anchor on them, you know. So I knew at 5 years old that was a man, and I knew that I was going to be tattooed. Now, did I purposely think exactly when I wanted one? No, I didn't. But that's when I went and I pulled into the tattoo shop when I was 30 years old visiting my brother, and it was no question I was going to be tattooed when I walked in that shop. And that was because of my childhood with my father and his friends. And then I got a little tiny green dragon on my left bicep, about that maybe 3 or 4 inches. And, you know, of course, today I would never get a 3 or 4 inch tattoo on me, but that's what I did. And then I went back, and I didn't tell anybody. I just went back to my brother's house afterwards, and I told him I got a tattoo, and he didn't care one way or another. He was open to anything. And then I looked in the mirror, and I went, yeah, this doesn't look right, man. I'm kind of uneven. You know, I've got an open arm over here. I don't feel right. So the next day I got in my car and I drove right back to the tattoo shop. And I looked at the wall and I found a tiger this big, same size. And I had it put on my other arm, my right arm. And
you'd even it out, right?
Yeah, well, I got to get balanced on this, you know, and then I got that tattoo on my right arm, and then I went back and I looked in the mirror and I went, that doesn't feel right either. I'm a little bit kind of vacant up here in my chest area. So I got in my car the next day and I drove to the tattoo shop again, and then I had a big Black Panther busting out of my chest, you know, probably about, you know, this big. Now it's getting bigger.
Yeah.
And I had that put on my chest, and I went back, and that's the 3rd day in a row I got tattooed. And then I went back and looked in the mirror again, and I went, that's not right. You know, I'm a little off balance. I should probably get something on the back to even it out a bit, you know. So I got in my car, and I drove to that damn tattoo shop the 4th day, and I got a dragon on the back, on my back, probably about 9 or 10 inches tall dragon on my back.
You must have had a lot of money, man. That must have cost you a lot of money.
Well, you know, you're talking 30 years. You're talking, oh boy, you're talking 40 some odd years ago. So tattoos were not anywhere near the amount of money they are today, you know.
Yeah.
So I had all these 4 tattoos, and I get in my car to drive back to Minneapolis, and this was my second wife. Now I'm living with my second wife, and she has no idea I'm tattooed. And I walk through the door, and I of course greet her, and I tell her, hey, I'm all happy, I'm all excited, you know, and I got some tattoos. Chris is her name, Chris. I said, hey, Chris, honey, I got some tattoos. You what? I said, I got tattooed. You what? And I said, yeah, and I showed her my arms and my chest and my back. And I'm not lying, man. She hit the roof. She says, you didn't even ask me. You didn't check in with me. I can't believe you did that to yourself. On and on she went, and I went, okay, well, you're going to be my second ex, because I'm not living with somebody that tells me what I can do with my body.